Let's be honest, you never asked for this. You never raised a hand and volunteered to be a fleshy horror show riding shotgun on a mosquito's butt. But evolution is a cruel, creative comedian, and you, my dear Dermatobia hominis, the notorious human botfly, are one of its best punchlines. You began life as a glimmer of possibility, a globby little egg with no opinions delicately plastered onto the belly of a passing mosquito. The mosquito didn't notice, of course. That's what happens when your mother, a hairy flying tank disguised as a fly, goes full WWE champion on anything buzzing through her airspace. She snatched that mosquito mid-flight like a featherweight prizefighter, grappled it with clumsy grace, then stuck her future, meaning you, to its undercarriage with a dab of bug glue so sticky it could give duct tape a run for its money. Then, mission complete. She zipped off to fulfill her sacred destiny, dying unceremoniously in a bush somewhere, the botanical equivalent of a lonely bar stool in a dive pub. Because that's what botflies do. They live to breed, then die with all the flair of a potato going moldy. Meanwhile, you were still just a pearl of potential, clinging to your unwilling Uber, waiting for the next phase of your grand adventure. The mosquito flitted through the green chaos of Central America, a blood-hungry missile, completely oblivious to the tiny stowaway latched to its underside. This mosquito had priorities. It needed a human to poke. Warm, juicy, slow-moving humans, standing around the jungle, acting like a buffet, were exactly what she was after. And eventually, jackpot, she found one. A sunburned, sweaty, half-dozing human, pausing for water on a rainforest trail, humming an off-key tune to ward off biting insects, which never works, by the way. The mosquito lined up her target, dropped her landing gear, and inserted her needle-sharp proboscis into that pink, defenseless skin. A sip of blood, and there it was. Heat. Glorious. Living heat. The trigger you'd been waiting for. In a millisecond, you burst free of your eggshell, wriggly and slimy, like a noodle left out in the rain. Barely visible, but fiercely ambitious. You launched yourself onto the skin, scuttling along the mosquito's own puncture wound before the mosquito even had time to pull out. Smooth as a criminal, you made your move, ducking straight into that fresh, juicy breach. And then jackpot for you too. You were in. Your microscopic hooks and wriggling mouthparts went to work like a tiny biological jackhammer. Human skin, to your larval toolkit, felt like butter on a warm day. You drilled, squirmed, and tumbled through those layers of tissue until you found your perfect cozy nook. Your new home. A place to grow, a place to feed, a place to absolutely horrify your host, though they wouldn't realize it just yet. Now here's the fun part, at least for you. You're designed to breathe through your butt. That's right. You have a tiny spherical snorkel sticking out of the skin, your personal air hole to the outside world. Classy? No. Practical? Incredibly. Evolution doesn't care about elegance. Evolution cares about getting oxygen, while you slowly turn your human host into an all-you-can-eat buffet. As you settled in, your host had no clue. They might slap at the bite, scratch it, swear about jungle mosquitoes, but they'd never guess a flesh-boring alien had moved in for a long-term lease. You, on the other hand, were living the dream. The dermal layer was soft, moist, warm, and best of all, defended by the host's own immune system, which meant you could provoke that immune system for your own twisted advantage. The second the human's immune cells arrived, trying to evict you, you responded like a true biochemical tyrant, pumping out enzymes and antimicrobial goo that would make any mad scientist proud. White blood cells tried to attack you. You slimed them back. Antibodies tried to choke you out. You basically flipped them the bird and kept growing. The area around you swelled up. Good. That swelling meant more nutrients being redirected to the site, which meant more food for you. Delicious. You grew. You built thick, backward-pointing spines along your bloated body, perfect for hooking into the flesh. Extraction would now be a medieval nightmare. If anyone tried to squeeze you out, they'd only rip their own skin. And that, my friend, was your personal security system, a combination of barbed armor and strategic grossness. Weeks went by. You grew fatter, thicker, your body ripening like a horrible, meaty croissant, stuffed with nightmares. Every few hours, you shifted positions, causing your host to twitch, itch, or slap at the wound. They might have felt a faint tickle, a subtle shifting under the skin. They might have blamed a muscle spasm, but you knew. You were wiggling around, adjusting your butt snorkel to breathe easier, repositioning for maximum nutritional flow. Sometimes, your host rolled over in their sleep, accidentally blocking your breathing hole. Those moments were terrifying. You thrashed like a worm in a puddle, desperate for oxygen, the world going dark. But you survived. Each close call made you tougher, more determined, more focused on your glorious final form. Meanwhile, above you, the human suspicions grew. They had noticed something weird, a bump that seemed to breathe, pulsing gently like a second, demonic heartbeat. So they did what any rational modern primate does when confronted with bodily horror. They Googled it. Why is my mosquito bite moving? Uh-oh, next came the clinic. You heard muffled voices, saw a bright lamp, smelled disinfectant through your microscopic spiracles. The human winced. A doctor peered at the wound with the enthusiasm of someone forced to clean a public toilet. They pinched, prodded. Then they tried the worst thing. They squeezed. Fools. Your spines dug in, you stayed put. You even released a dramatic burst of bloody, smelly exudate your best, "I dare you" defense. The doctor recoiled, face twisted in disgust. Victory. They gave up, at least for now. For a few more days, you rested in peace, gorging yourself until your body swelled with protein-rich tissue, your segments glinting under the dermal layers like some grotesque accordion. You were unstoppable until you felt the call, that ancient, genetic drumbeat. It was time to leave, time to metamorphose. Your body had tripled in size, each segment plump and bristling with hooks, like a living medieval weapon. You were now a third instar larva, the final, chonky stage of your growth. And no flesh condo, no matter how warm and cozy, could hold you any longer. One humid afternoon, as the rainforest dripped green light through the canopy, you began your escape. You reversed, squirming backward through your own breathing hole, popping free like a monstrous blackhead with a sense of purpose. The human screamed. You dropped. The world hit you all at once. The smell of wet leaves, rotting fruit, the buzz of insects, the earthy tang of soil. You loved it instantly, but you had no time to celebrate. Predators were already on the move. Army ants. Tiny, scissor-faced soldiers, relentless and hungry. They could smell you from meters away. So you did what any sensible fat grub would do. You dug. Fast. Your spines acted like miniature earth movers, tearing through dirt, leaves, roots, anything in your way. You plunged deeper and deeper until the world muffled around you, the army ants slicing above like tiny death machines on patrol. You held your breath, not that you were really breathing, in the traditional sense. Your metabolism slowed to a crawl, every system shutting down except the sacred process of rebirth. You had one job, become something new.